Hi, I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where today we're doing Rooney Watch. And what we're doing is counting down the games until when Rooney's going to get the sack. Now, we're also going to try to help as much as possible, because we're not just going to try to be, obnoxious and go, oh, he's terrible at managing, which he is. But he's still young, he's got loads of growth left in him. And if he learns, he could be good. But let's just start breaking down and trying to help him with Plymouth. Now, let's also note that Plymouth aren't a great team. They're not a team that's expected to win every game. They're just not. I looked at a little bit of their record last season, and they were right there at the relegation battle, fighting away. But let's try to help as much as possible that we can. His system, his shape is different. Remember, shape and system and formation, completely different things. Everyone gets them confused and tries to interlap them together because they really don't understand what they're talking about. But he was playing a 4-2-3-1 and having two defensive midfielders, which I don't think he should be playing. He should actually playing a completely different system to try to stop people scoring on him and then see what he can do. So when your team is losing or you're not very good, the first thing you try to do is just make sure you just don't get scored on. That's it. Just try to play for nil-nils until you can start building a sort of team structure and cohesion to move forward. And it sounds sort of horrible and stupid, but that's what you have to do because, you're not good enough. Your players aren't quite good enough. Your system isn't quite good enough. And you need to get to a point where your players are getting rewarded for anything. And if they keep playing this way, they're not going to. Now, Sheffield Wednesday, they're not a bad team. So, yeah, okay, they win 4-0, but it's probably a 3-0 game. But even that's unacceptable. I'll talk a little bit more about what a 3-0 really is compared to a 2-0 and stuff in other videos. Go watch those and you can you find out. But what we're going to talk about is he wanted two players here, right? And this is important because you don't have this player here and no one really quite knows their roles and responsibilities. Now you've got this guy who's completely stood still in no man's land. This guy's not quite sure what he needs to do and everyone's ball watching. This guy here is plodding along. Now, his body shape is completely wrong because he's facing the wrong way and that's important. These guys have jogged over for no reason. Well, the real reason is you're going, well, there's two players, Cash, and they need to be marked. He should have been back. These guys should have been back over here in their actual shape and not getting pulled out. You've got two centre-backs here going for a walk. You can't have this. They're too far out to the one side. The minute this starts to happen, you call the left back over, all right? Because he can't go and pressure the ball. You have to just let him have the ball. Why? Because you're on the halfway line. It's a little bit different if you're deeper back. But remember, the space is the danger here, not the ball. They can't score from here on the halfway line. They can score if your shape gets pulled apart, he pressures the ball for no reason, and your team gets caught out. And that's exactly what ends up happening here. Let's just move this forward a little bit. Now look how high this left back's gone. But it's still okay as long as your right back is now going to compensate and switch in and drop into this little space here and keep some sort of back three, but he doesn't. He's out to lunch, and I think there's probably a player behind him, and he's worried about him, which he just shouldn't be. He should be worried about getting back in and just keeping his line in shape here. Why shouldn't he be worried about the player behind him? Because the ball's here, and now someone's under pressure, pressuring it. So this guy can't, Harry Potter magic, the ball over the other side of the field without him being able to react. Now also, bearing in mind, these two centre-backs have been pulled out, marking these two players. So one of these players better not score if you've been pulled out of position and shape to go over there to mark them and you don't keep marking them. Look at our little guy in centre midfield here. He's not sure what to do. He doesn't know. Right. And one of the times, if you're a footballer and you see the ball and you're a centre midfielder, you want to go get it. You want to race and you want to chase and you want to get that ball back. That's what this guy does here. And all he needs to do is just stand still. He doesn't realise it. There's one of those things in football where if you can really teach a player this, walk more so you can jog less, jog more so you can sprint less. Does that make sense? You don't want to sprint as much, so you jog more, but you don't want to jog as much, so you walk more. Sometimes you just stand still. And this is a case where he just needs to stand still. And this is why. Now have a look. You've got two centre-backs that have been completely pulled out of position over here. This guy, he's kind of okay now because these guys have gone so far out here. Oh, look, where we didn't want that left-back to go forward because immediately, as soon as he's gone forward, where are they going to pass the ball? Into the space behind him. What do we say? The space is the danger. There's no reason for you to pressure the ball on the halfway line as a left-back in this situation. None. You just have to go, right, we can see that you've got the ball there. Let's drop back so the rest of my team doesn't get pulled out of shape and they can't play the ball in behind me and then just expose my centre-backs because generally they're slower and weaker than the left and right backs. And that's exactly what happens. This guy here, though, watch what he ends up doing. He goes, look, he's not looking around. He has got no clue. There's a player behind him and a player over here. He's just marking this space. And what ends up happening here is the ball gets played back to the space where he ran out of. He just completely and utterly ran out of because he's panicking. He's trying to overcompensate. And these players that were running around like headless chickens have been completely taken out of the game. All of a sudden, that whole midfield has opened up for them because the guy that was in centre midfield, that was holding his shape, doing quite well, panicked and did a recovery run for no reason to cover someone that doesn't need it because he's not sure what he's doing. He's panicking. And he's just completely not in a situation where he can pressure this ball in any way, shape or form. And all he needs to do is just relax, look around, hold his shape, and he would have been much, much better off. Now what ends up happening? Oh, there is a player over here. But look how far, he's so out of it, it doesn't matter. Now, of course, these two centre-backs are completely and utterly unaware what they're really doing and how to play football. They're still holding hands, they're still too close to each other, and they're still not covering that space, even though they went out there to... when that left back went forward, he doesn't make a recovery run. He doesn't bother to try to get back into shape. He's still out here, and this guy just plays a through ball straight into the space where it should never have happened because that left back should never have been pressuring up here on the halfway line. And these two centre backs both went over to cover the left back, and then both still don't cover that space for the left back. Oh, and look, that player that they went to mark, still not being marked either. Now everyone's running back towards the goal where all this guy's got to do is put a little simple pass across the goal, of the face of the goal, and just tap it in the net box. Oh look, but he's still not marking the player that he was marking, that ran out there to mark, but then gave up marking him and then came back across. Absolutely terrible. Ball comes across the middle and simply taps it in with none of those defenders anywhere near these two strikers. The team shape is just so wrong and the players aren't sure where they're going, so they're just getting caught out. That's why sometimes you just play a completely different formation. He almost wants to play like a 4-5-1 and the two outside make it a 4-3-3 in possession and just keep the shape and structure because these players don't really know what they're doing. And you need to help them as much as possible until you can teach them what to do properly, because this ain't it. Overlapping runs genuinely don't work because normally you've got two players trying to squeeze the ball here and there's never sort of an isolated left back on their own, so you don't get the opportunity to make that overlapping run and roll the ball on. Now, even if you do, what the left back should be paying attention to, as soon as that runner goes, he needs to back off this player by a yard. Not more than a yard. So as soon as that player starts going, he takes one step back. So if the ball goes, he can go with the ball. But if the guy comes back at him, he can still engage, okay? Because remember, there's only a split second before that player's offside on the run. So as soon as that player goes, you're taking that step back, waiting to see if he's offside. And remember, what I mean step back, I don't mean a step back towards his goal this way. What I mean is a step back that way, okay? So we can cut the angle out if he needs to. He's not looking to do that here. All he's doing is focused on the ball. No idea that this guy's gone on an overlapping run. And then this is what happens. He's completely isolated this poor chap here. 2v1, simple ball. And now they get a crossover. It ends up coming to the top of the 18-yard box and not scoring. But you can just see that they don't understand in this situation that this guy's got 2 against 1. And there's no one close to helping him. No one from Plymouth is anywhere near helping this guy. Centre-backs again are completely lost. Why are they lost? Because they're not framing anything properly, right? So if you're framing it, your centre-backs need to be somewhere on that line, protecting that middle, and they're not. Got one there and one over there. And here's the thing. They're still not marking the player that's in between both of them. Yeah, that's going to come on to later on where they have another goal conceded just because of a similar situation. I do want to show this, though, after the melee of nonsense that happens from this, poor defensive play. This is the guy, I think, that took the strike on the top of the box here. But watch this. Watch this. As this ball's dropping here, he's allowing it to drop and bounce in the box instead of just smashing it and getting rid of it. You're not Man City. You're not really good enough to get the ball down and pass and play it out. So at this point, you get rid of it, then you set your shape again and you build and defend again. They don't. They end up just making a complete and utter meal of it. Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. Oh no, is he offside? We don't know. Let's yell at someone. This guy was yelling at everybody, and he was probably saying the wrong things, because a lot of the times he was yelling was just, I think it's, show for the cameras. That's what I call it, because he's at fault a lot of the time. But let's carry on going. This is an own goal, but the whole reason the own goal ends up happening, you get own goals because you've created something, you've done something with a bit of luck. But look, this guy is not even close to marking him. What are you doing, mate? You're right there. Get back in and mark the guy behind you. He ends up getting a free header, heads it on, I think this guy, and knocks it in. Now, one of the other things with left backs, you've got to understand this. If you want a player to develop, you play them at left back. Left back is normally the most exposed position. People that know, and they'll take advantage of that when they've got a weak left back. And the reason why is because your best player is normally the striker or the right winger, right? The guy with all pace is going to be the right winger, and he's going to be a bit tricky. So he's going to have to play against the left back. The left back better be good at 1v1 situations. He better understand, lots of other little things, because he's going to be constantly under pressure. If you want a player to be on the ball a lot, or do a lot of stuff, or try to develop, play them at left back, because they will see a lot of the ball because of the matchup on the other side. But as this ball comes across, again, there's no pressure here on the ball. Jogging, walking, jogging. He's okay to be walking at this point, I suppose. No, not really. I'd be yelling at him. But overall, you think that they're okay here. But right now, let's just call out what I'm saying. The centre-backs have gone on a walkabout again. You don't want your two best headers of the ball when your left back is being isolated. One of these guys should be doing this and pushing the left back on. A couple of reasons. Right, first off, this guy can be tracked by him if he's, putting in a workload. If this ball comes across, when you've received the ball, you've got an outlet because your left back is already going, right? So you can push everybody on one for when you receive the ball, then you can go on the other side. And also, you don't want your left back isolated 1v1 when your centre back can be isolated 1v1 and your left back can cover for them. Okay, he just gets bullied because he's not goal side. His body position was wrong, which we already established right at the start of this. He wasn't in the right position, and that's the difference of 2 yards. 2 yards means that this goal doesn't go in. If that guy goes back 2 yards, even if he's rubbish at headering the ball, this guy doesn't do this. He doesn't bully him, doesn't go over his back. None of that happens. This guy might just clear the ball on his own, maybe get it to this guy, and we can go down the other end and miss a goal scoring opportunity. Bump, bump, in the back of the net. Oh, look, if the centre-back as well was exactly where I needed him to be, he wouldn't be facing his own goal, and the ball would have bounced off him in the head. He would have been facing away down the field, down from the goal, like he should have been, and it wouldn't have been a problem. All over, though, but it's simple things. This isn't high-end, complicated stuff. Well, it is, but yeah. But it's simple things to rectify. It's easy mistakes that you can fix. This is something that you could probably get done in about 4 weeks of training, working on their back four, trying to get it right, and it would be absolutely easy to get done. These are the things that you fix when you're a bad team and you need to make sure you don't concede goals. If they score goals on you because you're doing all the right things defensively, your goal side, you're challenging at the right points, well, great. They beat you. But if you beat yourselves because you're doing dumb things, it's unacceptable. And that's what's happening here. Same problem right here. Look at this. We've got 1, 2, 3 players chasing one player and a football. Guess who's going to win? They've got no clue what they're doing. Centre back doing I don't know what. This guy's going to yell at someone because he should have been yelling at this guy just to stay and hold with him, right? And one of these guys should have been tracking back into this space back here, but they don't understand it. They don't see it in any way, shape or form. They don't see it at all. And why they don't see it is the same guy that passed him the ball here, this little chap, same guy that passed him the ball, ran all the way to there, and none of these players bothered to track the run. And all 3 of these players are taken out of the way with a simple pass because no one's tracking the runner, no one's holding their shape, centre-back's out of position, and if this is a quality ball, it's another goal. It's not, should have been, but yeah. Simple, over it goes, everyone's taken out of the play, bouncing ball, centre-back's panicking, running over here now. Why is he there? Well, God knows. Well, I do know, it's because 4 players have been talking out with one ball, so he's overcompensating for their mistakes, making another mistake, and on the snowball rolls. They don't score from this, but this is a huge problem. This guy's read it. Okay, good job, matey. He's coming into a tackle, but this is the problem. When he comes in, he can't tackle him. He can't maintain the possession. He's not strong enough. He gets done, and off they go and get a shot off for goal. So I heard Wayne Rooney prattling on about on his briefing afterwards. We were just trying to defend crosses and cutbacks. That's definitely his voice. Cutbacks are not the problem. Crosses are not the problem. The reason why the cutbacks and the crosses are the problem. The reason crosses happen is because you won't have pressure on the ball. The reason they can cut the ball back is because your shape isn't correct and you're constantly giving pockets of space in behind here. That's a pocket of space. You can see that. He's stepped up. No one's covering this runner here. Why have you gone there? All of a sudden, everyone's out of shape and position. No midfielder is reading it to come back in, and you've got two of them there. One of them could be going over there. No one knows what they're doing. So that's the reason you're getting these little cutbacks or crosses in. It's because your shape isn't right. Look how much space this kiddie's got. Fighting here on the front post, that's okay. Here, I'd want him to be another yard or so back, because you know he's been beaten before. He needs to be a little bit closer to this guy. But all of a sudden, this little ball comes across, bosh, and the runner there isn't strong enough. That centre midfielder isn't strong enough and lets the ball just go into the goal. It's just too easy. Too easy. All of it can be fixed just with simple fixes. On the attacking front, though, we want to point this out when Plymouth decide to finally have a little shot at goal, but it's just not good enough. So, he's not good enough to score from outside the box like this. And watch the power of the shot. When this shot comes across, see how many times the ball bounces. 1, 2, before it gets to the goal. Do we see that? That means there's no power on the shot. That means it's a terrible shot. If he's trying to do that little cut inside of the post, he's miles away. If you can't score from doing that shot, in that one situation when your team is finally up the field and you can finally give your defenders some breathing space, get the shot on target, make it worthwhile, keep the ball a little bit, create an opportunity. Don't just get bored and smash it. That's just not good enough. Here is a perfect example of what these guys have no clue about. So, a lot of times when you do training sessions, people copy what other people do, right? And they go, oh, I've seen this guy do this training session, but they don't understand why they're doing it. So they've got the little cones out and they're teaching it on a field. And this is a classic example. Someone has got 3 players here trying to pressure the ball, right? And a lot of the reason why you don't do certain training sessions is because when you're playing a game, there's all this space here that can be exploited. So while you might win this game in a little 10 by 10 area, playing little rondos or keepaways, all of a sudden, in the real game, all this guy's going to do is knock the ball over here and let him create something. And that's what ends up happening. You've got 3 players here, marking 1 player. No one's really going to the ball. Well, he is in a minute, but no one's really close enough to challenge the ball. And nobody tracks the runner. Look at the lack of movement from the one side and the amount of energy from Sheffield Wednesday. Dush. Ball's in. Look, he's absolutely miles away from this guy. Completely unaware that he's run off him. Absolutely unaware. And that's either because he's told to back up his teammate that's pressuring the ball here, okay? Or he just doesn't pay any attention to the guy running down the wing. Either way, it's wrong. So do you remember earlier when I was saying about that player getting between the 2 centre-backs? I know he's between the left-back here and the centre-back there, because this centre-back's too far over to the other side, right? Well, same situation's just happened. This guy comes in completely unmarked with a ball over there from that little nonsense that's just happened there, which we could have fixed. No pressure here, which we could have fixed. Over here to another problem that we could have fixed. And all of a sudden, here, got to give props to the keeper. When this comes in, the keeper makes a save. Look, Bosch comes in, Doff, keeper makes a save, good job. But of course, no one is running with the player or close enough to even put in a challenge. So he just, oh, thanks, keeps. Cheers for the ball, mate. And he knocked into the net box. There we go. I give Rooney 20 games before he's going to get fired. Hopefully he doesn't. When it gets to 0, we're going to start adding the games on the other end. So when right, Cash was wrong, and as we go forward. Other than that, I'll see you next time on Rooney Watch.